Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most incredible stories in sports history, a story about unprecedented success, devastating failure, and one of the greatest comebacks ever witnessed. We're talking about Tiger Woods, and trust me, this journey is going to take you through emotions you didn't expect. Before we get started, I just want to say how much I appreciate all of you being here with me as we explore these incredible human stories. Sports isn't just about wins and losses, it's about the people behind the achievements. And Tiger's story is one that truly shows us the highest highs and lowest lows of what it means to be human. So let's start at the beginning, because Tiger Woods' story doesn't begin with professional golf. It begins with a 2-year-old appearing on national television, showing off golf skills that seemed almost supernatural for someone who could barely walk. Eldrick Woods was born on December 30th, 1975, in Cypress, California. His father, Earl Woods, was a former Green Beret who had served in Vietnam, and his mother, Kultida, was from Thailand. From the very beginning, Earl saw something special in his son. By the age of 2, Tiger was already swinging a golf club with precision that defied explanation. The story goes that Earl would take Tiger to the golf course and watch in amazement as this tiny child would hit ball after ball with incredible accuracy. It wasn't just natural talent, it was something that seemed almost otherworldly. Earl, who had been searching for a way to channel his own competitive spirit after his military service, found his calling in nurturing his son's gift. By the time Tiger was 3, he was shooting 48 over 9 holes. To put that in perspective, that's better than most adult recreational golfers could manage. At 15, he became the youngest winner of the U.S. Junior Amateur Championship, a record that still stands today. He wasn't just winning tournaments, he was demolishing them. But here's what made Tiger different from other child prodigies. He didn't just have talent, he had an almost inhuman work ethic. While other kids were playing video games or hanging out with friends, Tiger was on the driving range for hours, hitting hundreds of balls, perfecting every aspect of his game. His father instilled in him not just the technical skills, but the mental toughness that would later define his career. Tiger's amateur career reads like something out of a fantasy novel. 3 consecutive U.S. Amateur Championships, something that had never been done before and hasn't been done since. He won the individual NCAA Golf Championship at Stanford in 1996. By the time he decided to turn professional, golf insiders weren't wondering if he would succeed. They were wondering just how successful he could become. On August 29, 1996, at the age of 20, Tiger Woods turned professional. The golf world held its breath. This wasn't just another promising young player entering the tour. This was someone who people believed could fundamentally change the game forever. And they were right. Tiger's first year as a professional was nothing short of spectacular. In just 8 events, he won 2 titles and was named PGA Tour Rookie of the Year. But that was just the warm-up act. What happened next changed not just golf, but sports as a whole. April 13, 1997, the Masters tournament at Augusta National. Tiger arrived as a 21-year-old with 3 professional victories and sky-high expectations. What happened over those 4 days in Georgia became the stuff of legend. Tiger opened with a disappointing 40 on the front 9 of the first round. Many thought the pressure had finally gotten to him. But then something magical happened. Over the next 63 holes, Tiger played 22 under par. Let me repeat that. 22 under par over 3.5 rounds. He won by 12 strokes, setting or tying 27 tournament records in the process. It wasn't just the margin of victory or the records. It was the way he won. Tiger brought a level of athleticism and power to golf that had never been seen before. His drives routinely traveled over 300 yards. His mental toughness was unbreakable. And perhaps most importantly, as a young black man in a sport that had been dominated by white players, he was breaking down barriers and inspiring people who had never seen themselves represented in golf. The victory at Augusta was just the beginning. What followed was a period of dominance that sports had rarely seen in any discipline. Between 1999 and 2008, Tiger won 14 major championships. To put that in context, most professional golfers would consider winning 1 major championship the achievement of a lifetime. Tiger was averaging more than 1 per year. But the period from 2000 to 2001 was when Tiger transcended from great golfer to sporting deity. He won the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach by 15 strokes, the largest margin of victory in any major championship. A month later, he won the British Open at St. Andrews by 8 strokes. becoming the youngest player to complete the career Grand Slam. Then came the 2001 Masters, and with it, something that had never been accomplished in professional golf. Tiger became the only player in history to hold all 4 major championship titles simultaneously. This feat became known as the Tiger Slam, and it cemented his place not just as the best golfer of his generation, but as one of the greatest athletes of all time. During this period, Tiger wasn't just winning tournaments, he was rewriting the record books. He was the #1 ranked golfer in the world for over 13 years total. Television ratings would spike whenever Tiger was playing. Companies lined up to associate themselves with Tiger's success. His partnership with Nike was worth $40 million over 5 years, an unheard of amount for a golfer at the time. On a personal level, things seemed just as perfect. In 2004, Tiger married Elin Nordegren, a Swedish former model who had worked as a nanny for fellow professional golfer Jesper Parnevik. They settled in a massive mansion in Florida and soon welcomed 2 children, daughter Sam in 2007 and son Charlie in 2009. To the outside world, Tiger Woods had achieved the impossible. He was the best in the world at what he did, incredibly wealthy, had a beautiful family, and seemed to handle global stardom with remarkable grace. He was, by every measure, living the perfect life. But that's where our story takes a turn that nobody saw coming. November 25th, 2009. Thanksgiving Day. The National Enquirer published a story alleging that Tiger Woods had been having an affair with Rachel Uchitel, a New York nightclub hostess. Initially, this seemed like typical tabloid speculation, the kind of rumor that surrounds any major celebrity. But what happened 2 days later changed everything. At 2:25 in the morning on November 27th, Tiger Woods crashed his Cadillac Escalade into a fire hydrant and a neighbor's tree, just meters from his Florida mansion. The official story was that it was a simple accident. Tiger had left his house for some reason in the middle of the night and lost control of his vehicle. But the details didn't add up. Why was Tiger leaving his house at 2:25 a.m.? Why were the back windows of his SUV smashed? Why was his wife standing over the wreckage with a golf club? As investigators and journalists began digging deeper, a story emerged that was far more devastating than a simple car accident. According to reports, Elin had discovered text messages suggesting Tiger was having affairs with multiple women. She had confronted him, and Tiger had fled the house. What started as whispered speculation quickly became a media firestorm. Within days, more women began coming forward with claims that they had had affairs with Tiger. The alleged voicemails, text messages, and detailed accounts painted a picture of a man who had been living a double life for years. On December 2nd, 2009, Tiger released a statement on his website that sent shockwaves through the sports world. "I have let my family down, and I regret those transgressions with all of my heart. I have not been true to my values and the behavior my family deserves." It was an admission that changed everything. The man who had been seen as the ultimate role model, the athlete who seemed to have perfect control over every aspect of his life, had been living a lie. Reports suggested that Tiger had been having affairs with numerous women. Some claimed the number was as high as a dozen or more. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Major sponsors began dropping Tiger left and right. Accenture ended their 6-year partnership. AT&T walked away from what had been described as a multi-year deal. Gatorade discontinued their Tiger-focused drink. The financial losses were estimated in the hundreds of millions of dollars, but the personal cost was even higher. Elin Nordegren, the woman who had stood by Tiger's side through his greatest triumphs, filed for divorce. Despite attempts to repair their marriage, including Tiger entering therapy and taking time away from golf, the damage was too severe. In August 2010, their divorce was finalized. Elin received a settlement reported to be around $100 million. Tiger's public image, carefully crafted over more than a decade, lay in ruins. Late-night television hosts made him the butt of endless jokes. Former fans felt betrayed. His children would grow up knowing that their father's personal failures had been dissected by the entire world. But perhaps most devastatingly for Tiger, his golf game began to fall apart. For someone who had built their entire identity around being the best golfer in the world, the decline was agonizing to watch. The man who had once seemed invincible on the golf course now struggled with the basics of the game. His swing, which had been one of the most studied and admired in sports, became inconsistent. His putting, once deadly accurate, became tentative and unreliable. Tiger went through a series of swing coaches, trying to recapture the magic that had made him dominant for so many years. But it wasn't just technical problems. It was clear that the mental game that had been his greatest strength was now working against him. The confidence that had carried him through the biggest moments was shaken. The media and fans who had once celebrated every Tiger victory now seemed to take pleasure in every missed cut, every mediocre finish. The very attention that had helped make him the highest-paid athlete in the world now felt like a curse. From 2009 to 2013, Tiger won only 6 PGA Tour events. Most painfully, he couldn't win major championships. The 2008 U.S. Open remained his last major victory, and with each passing tournament, questions grew about whether he would ever win another. Then, just as it seemed like things couldn't get worse, Tiger's body began to betray him. Golf might not look physically demanding to casual observers, but the repetitive stress of swinging a golf club thousands of times had taken a toll. His back became a source of constant pain. Between 2014 and 2017, Tiger underwent 4 back surgeries. Each time, there was hope that this procedure would allow him to return to form. Each time, the comeback attempts ended in disappointment. The surgeries weren't just preventing Tiger from playing golf, they were affecting his basic quality of life. In May 2017, Tiger was arrested for driving under the influence, caused by a dangerous mix of prescription medications for his back pain. The mugshot became a symbol of how far he had fallen. Many people began to suggest that Tiger should retire. It appeared that one of the greatest careers in sports history was ending not with triumph, but with a long, painful decline. But that's where Tiger Woods reminded the world why he had become a legend in the first place. Starting in 2018, something began to change. Tiger's back was functional enough to allow him to practice and play without debilitating pain. More importantly, he seemed to have found peace with his personal life. The golf world began to take notice when Tiger finished second at the Valspar Championship in March 2018, his first top 5 finish in nearly 5 years. But the real breakthrough came in September 2018 at the Tour Championship. Playing in front of massive crowds who seemed genuinely excited to see him competitive again, Tiger won by 2 strokes. It was his first victory in over 5 years, and the emotional release was visible on his face as he celebrated with his children. That victory set the stage for what would become one of the most remarkable comeback stories in sports history. April 14, 2019, the Masters Tournament at Augusta National, the same course where Tiger had announced himself to the world 22 years earlier. At age 43, after 11 years without a major championship, after personal scandals and physical breakdowns that would have ended most careers, Tiger Woods was in contention on the final day of golf's most prestigious tournament. The final round was a masterclass in determination. Tiger didn't have his longest drives or most accurate putting, but he had something that had been missing for years: the absolute belief that he could win when it mattered most. With a 2-under par 70 in the final round, Tiger finished 1 shot ahead of 3 challengers. As his final putt dropped, Tiger's reaction was pure emotion. Arms raised in triumph, tears streaming down his face, before embracing his children who had rushed onto the green. It was more than just a golf tournament victory. It was validation that redemption was possible, that even the most devastating failures could be overcome with persistence and genuine change. But just as Tiger's comeback story seemed to have reached its perfect conclusion, fate intervened once again. On February 23, 2021, Tiger was driving in California when he lost control of his SUV. The vehicle rolled through 2 lanes of traffic and came to rest in some brush. When first responders arrived, they found Tiger conscious but trapped in the wreckage. The injuries were severe: fractures to his right leg and ankle, with serious concern about whether he would ever walk normally again. Many expected this to be the end of Tiger's competitive career, but in April 2022, just 14 months after the accident, Tiger walked to the first tee at Augusta National for the Masters Tournament. He made the cut and finished the tournament, proving once again that reports of his demise had been greatly exaggerated. Looking back on Tiger Woods' career now, what strikes you most isn't just the unprecedented success or even the dramatic failures. It's the fundamental humanity of his story. Here was someone who achieved heights that seemed almost superhuman, who fell to depths that seemed equally extreme, and who somehow found a way to climb back up. Tiger's story reminds us that even our heroes are human beings with flaws and struggles. His personal failures were real and caused genuine pain to people he loved. but his comeback showed that redemption is possible, that people can learn from their mistakes and become better. For the sport of golf, Tiger's impact cannot be overstated. He brought athleticism, diversity, and global attention to a sport that had been stagnant for decades. More broadly, Tiger's story became a template for understanding how we relate to our sports heroes. Today, Tiger Woods is approaching the end of his competitive career, but his legacy is secure not just as one of the greatest golfers of all time, but as someone who showed us the full spectrum of human experience, triumph, failure, and redemption. The young man who appeared on television at age 2 with a golf club that seemed too big for his tiny hands grew up to become one of the most famous athletes in the world, fell as far as anyone possibly could, and climbed back to prove that second chances are real. That's the story of Tiger Woods, golf's greatest rise, fall, and comeback. It's a story that reminds us that in sports, as in life, the most important victories aren't necessarily the ones that happen on the scoreboard. Sometimes they're the ones that happen in the heart. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey through one of sport's most compelling stories. Tiger's career shows us that being human means being imperfect, but it also means having the capacity to learn, grow, and inspire others along the way. What other amazing sports stories would you like to hear about? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. I read every single one, and your ideas often become future episodes. Until next time, keep exploring the incredible stories behind the athletes we admire.